Welcome everyone to today's webinar. My name is Scott Tingey with Carol Fabrics. It will be my pleasure today to take you through our Carolenet online ordering system. We really think this is a winner and hope very much that you'll find things that we talk about today to be very interesting and, more importantly, very productive for you. I'd like to start today by just telling you a little bit about when you log onto your computer and you key in carolenet.com. This is the page or the screen that you'll land on. And just like any other website, you need a user ID and a password, which you can obtain from your Carol Fabrics sales representative or just call into customer service. And really all you need to do is have a email and your account number, and you're good to go. So let's begin today by just seeing if I did it correctly and logging on. And as you can see here, if you successfully log on, what happens is you land on what we call a home page. Plus this menu bar up here illuminates. So that's one way of knowing that you've logged on successfully. A couple other things of note. You'll also notice up here where it says, "Welcome back, Scott Tingey." That would actually have your account number, but you'd always have a W, a 50, or a 60 beside your account number, and the W stands that you're looking at wholesale pricing. A 50 would mean that you're looking at 50 mark pricing, and so on for a 60 mark. You'd be looking at 60 mark pricing. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about this home page that we just landed on when we successfully logged in. This is brand new. It's only been out for a couple of days, so kind of excited. As you know, we're in the holidays, so anywhere you move your mouse on this home screen, wherever there's a little hand, you can click on that, and it'll give you information about whatever it's titled. So, for example, it says important holiday cutoff dates. If I was to click that, you can see very easily that once it loads, it's telling you what our custom product's in by December 5th, and we'll ship it by December 19th. So know that you have that out there all the time for you. Then in addition, there's a did you know. We're posting what our order fill rate is for cut yardage, and that'd be the same thing for fabrication because we'd be, just using the fabric and making an order. A little piece on child safety, good information to know that you can take into a home and have that expertise. You can sign up for additional webinars that we'll be doing throughout the year just by clicking here. And then also, in addition, soon you'll be able to look at pre-recorded webinars or webinars that we've done in the past if you want to go in and review them. So big help for you. In addition, it's a shortcut page. You can click on Design Essentials, which is a specific program that we have at Carol Fabrics. Take you right to it without going through a lot of, other clicks or whatever. And then you can go to another program called Simplicity by Design. Gives you just a shortcut. You want to look at fabrics that are 25% off, you can click on that, and it would only bring up fabrics that are 25% off. So it's more than just a splash page or a landing page. On the home page, there's lots of stuff going on. It's kind of a current events, it's kind of a shortcut, and it's kind of a did you know. So hopefully you'll have some fun with that down the road. So let's start today by explaining what we have up here on the top. This is the main menu bar, the main action bar. So for example, when I put the little mouse over the top, it says place orders and quotes. If I was to click that, then you see I get a bunch of sub menus underneath that I can go in and do those different things. So these are your main tabs. So this is place orders and quotes. Then you have a search tab where you can go in and search for fabrics, for trim, for hardware. There's a clearance area for both fabric and trim. And if you're doing a contract or commercial, we have a confab tab that you can click on. We have a check stock tab, which allows you, obviously, 24/7 to check stock on fabrics and trim, and also look at some hardware that we have in stock to see if it's in stock, etc. The My Account tab kind of is where you kind of manage your account, if you will. You can look at your quotes, your open or your shipped orders. You can pay invoices. You can determine who can use the internet account within your business, and we'll demonstrate some of that in a minute. And account selection would be for accounts that have multiple store locations and things like that. We have a wonderful tab called Sales Aids. When you click that, under Sales Aids, you can look at fabric introductions, fabric price lists, our big red custom binder. Some of you are used to that. The Design Essentials program or binder. It's got the lookbooks, all that good stuff in there, the hardware. You can just kind of see Simplicity by Design. You can look at discontinued lists. It's just a great, as it states, sales aids. There's a clearance tab. When you click on clearance, you can go directly to our clearance department and look at fabric or trim that we have on clearance at some wonderful prices. We'll touch on that before we leave today. In addition, there's a national advertising. If you click on that, you would just basically pull up all the ads that we've run in different shelter magazines like Veranda or Southern Living, those types of things. And sometimes people will print those out and use them for table toppers if they're doing a road show, home show, that type of thing. And then we have a help and contact and careers. That's a way that you can look at any type of help file that's in there. As a matter of fact, we'll show you that in just a minute. But it also gives you the ability to contact with customer service without having to pick up the phone and doing those types of things. And I bet everybody knows what the shopping cart is, so at any time you can click on that and look what you have in your shopping cart. So let's start today just by running over and starting in the My Account. As I mentioned earlier, that's kind of how you manage the account. So let's click on that and just play with a couple of things. So for example, if I wanted to pay my invoices or look at my invoices, I'd need to do nothing more than click on that. And then what happens is you'll get a screen that pops up. And this is kind of like a statement, if you will. So if you've got, 4 or 5 invoices or 1 to 30 days, or maybe you've got one 31 to 60, it's just a statement. But if you wanted to look at invoices specific, then you just need to hit View Details. And then what it would do, it would bring up any invoices that you have that are specific and give you the opportunity simply to click there. I'll do that. I'm not sure what it'll do since we don't have anything, but click Submit. It does, and then it takes you out to a very secure where you can put in your credit card information, etc., and pay that invoice. So you can see how really easy that is to do. Now, in addition to being able to pay invoices, what's really cool is this one here that's called Manage Users. Now, think about that. Manage Users. What are we talking about there? When you open up your Carolenet account, you're what we call the super user. You're the main person, the person in charge. But what you can do, you can assign other people to be able to use this your account as what we call a sub-user. We'll get into that in just a second. But let's just stay with you, the main user, the super user. This is where you would go in, and if you wanted to change your password, your user ID, if you wanted to change what pricing you're looking at, all you would need to do is put Edit, for example. So we'll click on that, and then here's the information. So if I wanted to, let's say I didn't want to look at wholesale pricing, I wanted to set it to look at retail pricing or 50, I would simply do that, hit Save. And anytime you do an action like that, you'll get a little message bar up at the top to tell you that you did it successfully or not. So that's important. So let's go back and put it at wholesale just to kind of show you how it is. I hit the edit button. I can come down and now put it back at wholesale and hit save. So it's really that simple. Of course, I could have changed passwords and done all that stuff. But let's say that you're a store owner or you've got a couple of salespeople working for you. Or maybe you want to have both, you want to be able to sign on and look at wholesale or be able to sign on and look at retail. Some people will do that. So what we do is we create a sub-user. All we do is look at sub-user information, click Add New, and let's just pretend we had a sales rep or a salesperson working for us by the name of Dylan. And all this is saying, this would have your account number right here, and you're just saying this is the account number I want to assign a sub-user to. So I just click on that. Now I've okayed it. So now I simply go in. Remember I said we had a person by the name of Dylan. So I'm going to put Dylan in there, and I could put in emails on that, but we do know that he has to have a password. So I'll put in a password. And of course you have to do it twice. What pricing do I want Dylan to look at? Well, let's just say 50, okay? And then I could put in contact and work phone and all that good stuff, but this would be enough to get it going. Notice that you can turn off Dylan's privileges or active, just you're the super user, so you have that ability to do whatever you need to do there. One of the other cool features about this is allowing or monitoring what the sub-user is allowed to see. So in this case, do we want Dylan to be able to place fully blown custom orders, fabricated orders? Well, maybe he's a relatively new employee, so I'm going to leave that unchecked for now. Will I let him do cut orders? I'll let him do some cut orders, place swatch orders, be able to order memos and dial out samples. Sure, he can do all that. Then, do I want him to be able to see order inquiry or quotes? Yeah, I'd like him to be able to see his quotes, let him look at open orders, look at shipped orders. Do I want him to look at invoices? No, probably not. And do I want him to be able to manage users? I'll leave that blank for now. So now that I've kind of set his profile, given him a password, all I do is hit create. And if I've done it correctly, I'll get a little notice up at the top, as you well know. It says sub-user was created successfully. Password is set to what we wrote down. Okay. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually log off as the super user, which would be you if it was your account, and I'm going to log back on as Dylan. So we put that was his user ID. You could have any name you wanted there, but let's just put in the password. That's where I usually go wrong if I remember the password correctly. There. So now we've logged back on. It looks exactly the same, doesn't it? But if you look up in the right-hand corner, you've got a 50 there, which is your indication that you're now looking at pricing that's retail at a 50 mark. So that's kind of how, just kind of a feel as you go across and use what's underneath the My Account. You know what's noticeably missing now is he can't pay invoices and he can't manage users. So we took those privileges away so he can just do those things under the My Account tab. So that's that tab. But now let's kind of roll into what you use every day. Let's start with stock checks. So under this tab, if I click it, there's my three little sub-menus, if you will. And let's say I wanted to do fabrics, for example. So when I click on fabrics, basically what this is the ability to check stock 24/7. Just kind of paraphrase what these three little paragraphs say. This particular one just says that if you type a minimum of 3 letters of the pattern in this box, it'll kind of do the rest. It will pull up, and then you can select from a drop-down box what fabric you want to use. The next one just says if you're doing a stock check and you don't know what you're looking for, which is kind of weird that you're doing a stock check, but you can click here, and that'll take you out to the main search field where we're going to go in a few minutes to look for fabrics. Excuse me. Or if when you're completely done working this screen, all you have to do is click on the little X and it'll take you back to where you were. So let's say, for example, that I was looking for a fabric called Clever. So if I just put in CLE, it'll go through there. If I want to put another letter in it, you can just see how it filters it down until you find the fabric that you want. So let's say I was going to look for Clever in the color turquoise. I'd click on that. And then what happens is I get an image of that fabric and a whole bunch of other stuff going on. So if you look over to the left-hand side, you'll see it gives the brand, which is Carol. And then you also have the book, which is called Spring Fresh. Ooh, there's a price, $37.90. This is usually where you go, is that wholesale or is that retail? So as I look up to the top, that's all I need to know is that I'm looking at retail. So I can rest assured, the price I'm looking at is what I think it is. If you have suspicions about a fabric, will this work good in this particular product or this kind of product? We're trying to go out and label fabrics. So if there's something we know about it, so we can kind of code them to try to help you with those types of decisions. So this one here, as you can see, it's recommended for all products, and it's upholstery rated. And as we come down a little bit further, we see that it's 100% cotton, the pattern repeat, the width. Remember it said it was upholstery rated? Well, there's your Wiesenbach rub counts, 15,000 double rubs. If there's any flammability stuff going on here, you've got that. So a lot of different things working. Remember, this all started as a stock check. So what if we did a stock check? Let's go over here where it says quantity. Let's just put in 15, for example. Go down and hit stock check. It says the product's in stock. If it wasn't in stock, it would probably give you a due date, and it would also give you the ability to hit find similar, so you could go out and kind of find fabrics in that genre, if you will. So lots of little help features there when you're using this. Another one is if you come down here where it says email image. If you want to email a consumer an image of a fabric that you're looking up, it's so easy. All you need to do is put a little check mark in the email box. Come down here, and it says it's added to the email list. So you could add more, but let's say we just wanted to send this one. I could come down and hit email selected images, and then I get a box, and I just follow the information here, hit send, and boom, that image that you just looked at is on its way to a customer. So it's just a matter of following some very basic and easy instructions on how to email. I know that for a fact you can email up to 10 images, up to 10 different locations. So if you're sending a swatch to the upholsterer, another swatch to a work, wherever you're going to send it, you can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off for right now. Another cool thing that you can do with the check stock page is the ability to save this fabric if you're going to use it later on to make up a drapery order or a top treatment or a Roman shade, to do some decor there. So all I would have to do there is to create a file for this customer. So let's say this customer's name is, so I'd hit new folder. Now it wants a name, so I'm just going to put in Kathy. I'll put Kathy Smith, something like that. So now I'm going to create the folder, and here again it'll tell me if I do it successfully, which I did. Now all I need to make sure is that Kathy Smith shows here, and then I just have, and whatever my image is here, I hit add favorites, and now this image has been put into a file for Kathy Smith a little bit later on. In addition, you can order a swatch, or you can order a die lot cutting or a memo. The memo samples are absolutely free, as are the die lots. And they are the exact same size that are in your sample book. So if you want to know how big they come, how small they are, they're the exact same size that's in your sample book. The swatch, however, that we charge $5 for is a salvage to salvage by 1/4 of a yard in length. So if you're doing a design board or what have you, you can cut that up and use it for however you want to apply that. So lots of stuff going on here. Some information down at the bottom. We're telling you that the image that you're looking at in this picture is about 25 by 25 inches, give or take a little bit. And the image may vary in color and repeat from the actual fabric. That's just the way it works on the internet, okay? So if I'm all done with that, but I want to check a couple more fabrics. Do I have to click out of here and go back up there and do this? No, all you have to do is click back in the box. And at that point, put in another fabric. So let's say I'm looking for a fabric called Daydreamer. Just click on that one, for example. And you can see how fast and repeating you can do when you're checking for stock. So let's say I'm going to check this for 10 yards. Do that just as due diligence. It's good. Let's go ahead and put that in Kathy Smith's file. So I'm going to hit add to favorites. And you see how easy that is. There's your pricing, all the other good stuff that you've got going there. We talked about fabric, but what if we're doing trims? Let me show you how easy. They do kind of look a lot alike, a little bit of difference. The 3 paragraphs mean the same thing, but for trim, what we tell you to do, your best bet is to put in the whole 5-digit number, because it's not a name. Put in the whole 5 digits, because sometimes if you just put in the first 3, you can get a real long drop-down box. But here you can see we've kind of narrowed that down. So I'll just pick a fringe at random. If I wanted to, I could email the image. All the same things that we did in the previous. Check it for 5 yards. I need some trim, stock check, products in stock. Let's save it and we'll do an order here in a little bit. So you can see how easy. You can do more than just check stock, I guess is what I'm saying. You can go in an email, do lots of different things to help you with your business. Okay, so let's kind of move along now. We've kind of done my account. We've done the check stock. Let's jump over and look at the search tab. Under the search tab, you can see the little sub-menus that came up. So here again, you know what? Probably 99% of the time, you're going to be over here in fabric. So let's go ahead and start there because I want to look for some fabrics. When you get to this screen, you'll see it looks a little bit different than what you've seen before. And what's happening here, this is our search screen. So there's different searches that you can do. You can do some very simple ones like a general search. If I just wanted to look for a given book name, I could do that. If I wanted to look just for a given fabric, I could do that. The same thing I did in stock check, actually. If I wanted to search by color, I could do that. I can search by price range. I can search by promotions. I can add little caveats in here. I'm looking for damask. I'm looking for a print. I'm looking for a jacquard. All those kind of things that you can do. But let's just start with a very simple one so I can walk you through some stuff. So let's say we're looking for a book called Carte Blanche. So there it is right there. Let's just say, you know what, just show me all the fabrics that are in that given book. So all I have to do, doing nothing else, I'm just going to go down and hit Submit Search Request, and it'll go out and pull it back for me to look at. I call it the Wheel of Fortune. There it goes. So what you see are all the fabrics that are in that given book. Now, up at the top, it says we found 50 out of 64 items that match the search criteria. Now, this page that we pulled up can only hold a maximum of 50 fabrics. So sometimes it might say we found 200 fabrics of whatever, and you need to look at more than that, and you know the page only holds 50. So to look at a number greater than 50, you just go over here where it says Limit Results. You click on that, and then I can pick a number that's greater than the maximum amount that it said it found. So in this case here, if I wanted to look at 64, I just bump it up to 100. And depending on your internet speed, it'll go out and it'll pull them all and bring them back to look at. So in this case now I have all 64 items to look at. What are some other things that we can do? Let's just say I wasn't really interested in all the anecdotal information. I just wanted to look at images. I can click on images only, and then if I'm looking for color or whatever, I've got that ability to go through and do that. Let's see. The other things that you can do, let's say I wanted to sort these. Excuse me. Now, granted, these fabrics are all out of one book, so the pricing might be somewhat related, but let me show you what you can do. You could actually sort these by price ascending or price descending. I could sort them by pattern name, color name, and probably the most popular search is book name. If you pull something up that has fabrics representing, 10 or 15 books, you could sort it by book. We know this one is just one book, so I'll do a price ascending, which should give me my least expensive and up from there. You can see by pricing it went from 29, and we read it like a book left to right, maybe. So you really have two price points in that book. But if it was fabrics from, a representation of a whole bunch of books, you could see where you could sort it any way you wanted. Guess what? Remember we talked about that emailing? If I wanted to email, remember I could email up to 10 images. All I do would be click away here, go over here and hit emailed selected images, and there's the ones that I put in here. I'd fill out the necessary information, hit the send button, and we're on our way. So it's that easy to go ahead and email images to a consumer. Might be a wife who wants her husband to look at it, or vice versa, and they're on a business trip and need to, send an image. Oh, that would work great in our living room, that kind of stuff. So it's a pretty handy tool. It's a very handy tool. Okay, let's talk about a couple other searches. Let's say, for example, that it was more, here's a good call out for you. When you're done doing a search, always hit New Search. And that way it'll erase anything that you put in previously, so it won't skew what you're trying to do on the upcoming search. Okay, so now that we have a fresh slate to work with, let's just say we're looking for some color. So let's just say I was going to pick a tan, if you will. Let's say I wanted to do something in a price range. I'm looking at retail, so I'm going to say $36 to $55. Let's say, for example, I'm looking for a jacquard, okay? So I'm going to click that. Now, one little call out is you can put all kinds of stuff on here, but sometimes you're limiting it down, and all it takes is one to not be represented, and it can limit what you'll get back to look at. So you kind of play with this, test drive it, get it to where you want it, where you feel comfortable with it, with the amount of fabrics to come back to look at as you learn how to use this. And that's not very difficult. So I put in 3 different criteria, so let's look and see what comes back. So in this case here, it came back and it said I found 86 items that fit that color, fit that it's a jacquard, all the different things that we did. So that's a very, very easy search to do. So for example, if I was wanting to use, let's just find one to have some fun with. Let's say I wanted to use this fabric here called origami. What I could do is just click on it, and now watch what happens. This look familiar to you? That's our old stock check screen. So it runs you straight out to a stock check, because usually I found what I like. Let me see if there's any stock in it. I could go ahead and put in 10 yards. Just see if it's out there, do its stock check. It's in stock. Now, if I wanted to, I could take it over and put it in Kathy's file. Okay, let's do that, and we can play with it a little bit later on. I put it in her file. But I can dial out. I could actually order it from that point right there if I wanted to add it to my cart and go through a checkout procedure. but you've got all those features. When I'm done with this, I just click out of it, and voila, I'm back to my, the search screen. So I'll do another new search for you just to kind of show you one other little thing. Okay, I told you earlier, and there's a shortcut on the homepage about these promotions. So we have fabrics that are 25% off, or in our reserve collection, which is the little nicer goods, if you will. They have a representation of 25% off. So let's just say, for example, I wanted 25% off, and that's all I wanted to look at. I just hit submit search request. I could go in and do color and all that kind of stuff, but usually there's not so many that you probably just want to look at all of them. So that's what's happening here. So in this case here, there's 359. What would I need to do if I wanted to look at 359? Simply go over here and find a number that's greater. So I'd kick to 2,000. Probably take a little bit to load up and stuff, but for 25% off. And keep in mind, not only is it 25% off for fabrication, it's also 25 for fabric. It's also 25% off for fabrication. So it's a great, great, great deal. Okay, so the only other thing I could show you in search is the ability to look for trims, which is important. So let's see when that refreshes here. We'll go in and take a look at that real quick. So if I was going to look for trims, I would just come across, click on trim. You guys can kind of see how all this works. It's not very hard. That's one of the beauties of this thing, is it's just not that difficult to operate. But a lot of times you know what trim books you have, so you can go straight and just pull the trim books. Let's say I've got one from Middleton Trimmings, and I'm looking for some lip cording or what have you. I would just click lip cord. There can't be that many colors in the trim book, so I'm going to pop that thing and look at all of them. And in this case here, it's got all the different lip cords that are available in that book. So very, very easy to operate. Here again, if I think I might like that one, use it later, I can click on it. I can do a stock check for a few yards, say 5 yards. I have no idea if it's in stock. Let's see. Check stock. We're good. I'll put it over in Kathy's file. I think you know how to do this. Now, a call out on this file thing that we're holding, you don't have to do that. This is just a little extra that we put in there. So this is not mandatory when you're going through these different processes to open a file for a customer. But I'll show you in a minute where it might be of interest to you. So you can see how easy it is to look for trim. You can do all the same stuff as we did for fabric. You can look by book name, you can look by color, you can look by style, lots of different things that you can do there. So at this point, we've looked at my account, kind of how to manage it, set up different people on the computer if we need to, check stock, all the different things that are involved there. A lot more than just checking stock, a lot of features and benefits you can derive from that. We looked at search, but now let's go into what really sets Carolenet, this website, apart from all of our competition, we feel. And that's the ability to go in and be able to order made-up, fabricated, custom products from Carol Fabrics. So, for example, if I clicked on that tab and then I click Custom Products, so there we go. Now it's going to load up all these little windows for you, and I'll just kind of walk you through a few of them. This is our Simplicity by Design program, so it's a distinct individual program, as is our Design Essentials program. They both have a field reputation in the way of a binder, a portfolio that you work out of. But these other ones are just generic windows if you want to go in and order draperies, outside, if you're not using these two programs, if you're just carrying fabric books, you want to do draperies, you want to do hardware, balances, swags, it would just be to click a window. So let's just say we want to order a pair of draperies. I went into a home, I took a fabric book in there, and I click on the window, and then what it's going to do, it's going to populate, and again, it's going to ask me, well, of all these products that we have in draperies, which one do you want to do? A grommet, pleated styles, a retro, all these different types of draperies. Well, still pretty popular are the pleated styles. So if I click that, we're going to go to see, well, here's the 8 different pleated styles that are offered at Carol Fabrics. Well, one that's pretty popular is one called the inverted pleat. So let's just click on that. And you can see how easy this becomes being menu driven. So for example, first thing we've told the computer is we want to do an inverted pleat drapery. So we'll look at the first thing it offers me. It gives me specifications on that. Just in case I'm in the home, I want to talk to the customer, I want to kind of bring myself around to knowing some of that. I click on that. It opens up another little window, and then you get all the lack of a better term, anecdotal information that supports how we make it, features and benefits, and if you're working in the numbered pages, where to find the information. So it's really that easy to go out and get information, okay? So then all I need to do is come down here, and there's an options page. Well, let me back up. Remember all those fabrics that we saved for the customer? That's called My Favorites. You don't have to do that. It's not, that's up to you. But if you wanted to, let me show you. There's Kathy's name, but it could have very well been anybody, but we just had one. So we'd pull up her name. And even though one fabric came up, you're saying to yourself, I know we saved more than one. Wherever you have this little red plus sign next to the customer's name, if you click on that, when the little hand gives you the finger, you click on that, there's all the fabrics and things that we held. So this just kind of gives us a pool to work with. But do you need to do that? No, you could go right in and key in what fabric you want and that kind of stuff. So just wanted to make that aware. Now, here's all the options based on the drapery that we selected that Carol Fabrics can do to that given drapery. We have a quick ship program. Say you're having a wedding, you need it out, you need us to make it in 5 working days. Let's click that and see what happens. Banding, decorative trim, inner lining, memory stitch. Well, you know what? Let's memory stitch it. You'll notice lining's already checked. So if you don't want lining, you then check it. But hey, we don't do that, right? We always have a lining, okay? Then the next step is to come over and fill out your spec sheet, if you will. Notice I call it a spec sheet because any of you have done draperies, boy, the spec sheet, there's an office hour right there filling all that out. Well, you know what? Look how easy it is. Quantity 1. If I want to do a pair of panel, I just click on that little drop-down box, and let's say I'm going to do a pair of draperies. Let's say I'm brand new, and what's the difference between a pair and a panel or whatever? Wherever that little hand pops up, I can click on that, and it says View Help for a pair of panel. Click on it again, and it tells me the differences between a pair and a panel. So this is that help file that I was talking to you about earlier. Even up here in your options, if there's a little hand next to it, if you don't know what memory stitch is, you can click on that, and boom, go right back to it, right where we were to that little, I think it's a PDF file where you can go in and look at information on how to do that. So continuing on with my spec sheet, let's say I need a drapery 100 inches wide. I wanted a finished length of, let's say, 89 inches. Let's say I want a drapery return of 4 inches. And now where it says fullness and width, this is really pretty cool. Those of you that have been in the business a long, long, long time, I just aged myself. We always figured our draperies by the number of fabric widths we wanted to use to make that. But new school a lot teaches that you just tell the workroom, whoever you're working with, the percentage of fullness that you want to do. So, for example, if it's a custom-made drapery and you're lining it, the given knowledge out there is you do 2.5 to 1 fullness. So you can go either way. So all you have to do is hit the drop-down box and say, I want to tell you how many widths I want to use, or I want to tell you what fullness I want to use. So let's say this decorator, who our guy Dylan, wants to say, you tell me. So in this case here, this particular drapery is offered in 3 fullnesses. He would have read previously, hopefully, and know that 2.5 to 1 fullness is the way to go. He'd click that. Do you want us to pin or put rings on it for you? Well, yes, I'd like you to pin it. So I'm going to click pins. And then it's going to say, well, where do you want the pin placement? So we put some names of rods in here that you can take shortcuts. I'll do a decorator rod. If not, there's O for other, and you can put your own pin set in. Lining. Well, in our lining, we category it into 3 different sections. So, for example, we're just going to do a standard lining. So you'll see another box illuminated. So now I've got my spec sheet filled out, don't I? So now all I need to do now is come over and say lining fabric. So here it says you can select via drop down. You don't need to click this box. You just come right over here, hit this drop down, pick. These are all the linings that are in the standard. So I'm going to do a nice classic sateen in a 54-inch white. The next thing it says is face fabric. Well, here again, I could type in the first 3 letters of the fabric or more, the fabric pattern name, Or if I'd saved it up here, I could actually go up here and watch this. Just click on one of these and it'll say use this face fabric. So I hope what you saw there are two different ways to do it. One, I can just type in the name and then pick a color and it'll do all that. Or if I've got it saved up in this favorites, all I have to do is click one of those and it'll instantly populate. Want to know what one of the great things is? It just did a stock check against what you're doing over here. So think about it. No going back to the office, picking up the phone, calling somebody at one of your fabric suppliers. Do you have 16 yards of this in stock? I need you to ship it here. You can just kind of think in your mind the amount of time and duration it takes to do all that. You just now very quickly have a stock check. And here's the other fun part. If I hit calculate, looks like I made an error. Quick ship currently not available. You know why? Because it's Christmas time. So everything's a quick ship, if you will. So what I would do is I'd fix that correction by doing that and ask it to calculate again. So that quickly, I now have a price of $1,000 for a pair of draperies that's 100 inches wide by 89 inches long, lined in classic sateen white lining. So I've got my spec sheet, I did my stock check, and now all I have to do is follow it through to an order. So I'm pretty happy with that. But here's even another little feature you could do. If you wanted to hit show pricing detail, the customer wanted a breakdown by fabric, by memory stitch, by all the different things that you're doing, you can look at it componently too. So things just load with lots of little neat features for you to work with. You can come down here and help the installer and say, you know what, this is going to be installed in the living room. So that'll be identified on the box. This comment section, little word here is that whatever you type in here will be seen by customer service and by our workroom. But you don't want to put anything in here that's a price changer or a game changer. Otherwise, it's going to cause us to call you and delay your order. But let's say I was doing 4 pairs of drapery. They're all in the same room. They're pleated. We know that balanced pleating is very important in a scenario like that. You can put anything you want in there, but just be advised, don't put something in there that's going to slow the order down, or, cause it to be put on hold or something. So once I've got that information, I can add it to my shopping cart. So here it is. Here's your shopping cart. It says it's got quantity 1, shows you all this stuff. But I'll show you a couple of cool things while we're in the cart. Let's say, for example, you quoted your customer and they just don't want it or whatever. I can just hit remove and it all goes away. That easy. But let's say that, oh, you know what? I forgot that the customer wanted me to show them how to, or wanted me to make sure that the drapery stacked off the window, and I forgot to do that. I need to get back into that spec sheet. All I do is hit edit. This just says, we'll make sure you put it back in the cart when you're done. So we're going to go out and edit it real quick. I'm going to jump in here and change this to 120. Make more money. 120. I'm going to recalculate it again. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it back in the cart. And that quickly I edited my spec sheet. Here's another great tool. So let's say there are 2 or 3 draperies in that room. Oh, you mean I got to go in and fill out all that stuff again? It wasn't that bad, but you can just copy that line item. So I'm going to copy that line item. And let's just say this drapery needed to be 80 inches wide. So I would go in and change it to 80. Keep in mind, I could change color. I can't change the style of drapery, but I could do everything else. I could go in and change the fullness, the returns. I could do all that stuff. But let's just say it's same thing, same length, just needed to be 80 inches wide instead of 120. So I've got my price. Now I just take and add it to my cart. So I didn't have to go back in and key all that other information that I had on the previous line item. And as you'll see, when it pulls up in your cart, there is that second line item that all I did was do a copy function and go in and do that. You can empty the cart. You can update the cart. You can save it as a quote. We'll save it a little bit later on, a little bit further down the ordering process line. But you know what? Hey, I want to keep shopping. This is fun. So when I hit the continue shopping button, I go right back out to these series of windows that say I wanted a Roman shade. So I just go to my shade category, soft shades. And I won't talk as much, but show you how quickly you can go through I didn't need any of the fancy, I could have done options, but now I simply go in, excuse me, select the lining for that shade. So I'll stick with classic sateen, pick a fabric. Now here in mine, I could just type in the first 3 letters of any given pattern, or if I was holding one upstairs here, I could simply go in and click it and say, use as my face fabric, and it'll do it for me. Boom, I'm ready to go. And all I have to do is hit calculate. You got to admit, that's pretty fast. And then if I'm done with it, I go down here, add it to my cart. All my stock checks are done. My spec sheets are written. Now it's just a matter of ordering it from Carol Fabric so I can go to checkout. If I'm ready to proceed that far, all I do is hit checkout. Now I'll get a checkout screen that's really pretty easy to maneuver. You probably have, if you've worked with the internet, you understand these. Just here's some of the little things for Carol. We do have to have a purchase order number, okay? Let's say I make up a customer's name. I don't know. Was it Kathy, I think, was the lady we were doing? Kathy Smith, right? So I'm going to put her as my customer. Now, I need to put where I want it shipped to. Where this says saved ship tos, if you have a place you want this that you ship to 99% of the time or whatever, you can call our credit department and they can put in a saved ship to. So all you would need to do is click that, and at any given time, boom, 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 pick the one that you want to use, okay? So that's how you do a save ship to. But probably more to the point, you'll be doing this one here, order ship to. So this is where I want my order to ship to. I would click on that one, and then I'll do it real quick. Let's just say it's Jane's Installs. Oh, she's already in there. I've used her before. And just put in a phony contact number or whatever. 20. Oh, I had one in there, didn't I? See, it even saves a lot of that stuff. It'll recognize it as you do it. Let's say we're going to go to Merced, Alaska. I know where I get all these names. And a zip code. And then that easy. I can put in more information. But when I'm done with that, all I have to do is hit submit. And it'll take that information. And now I've got my information on where it needs to go. Let's say, though, that you had a big order and you wanted 10 yards of that to go to an upholster and 1 yard to go here or there. You can actually go in and ship each line item individually. So you could put in the main one, but then you could kind of go in and hit line ship to and just say, well, I want line 2 to go here and line 2 to go there. So it's loaded with a lot of help. Another big call out on this is the event code. We do promotions from time to time at Carol Fabrics, as you're well aware of, and all we ask is that you put in the event code, and then that will make sure that you get the appropriate discount. So that's where you put that in. Where it says side mark / comments, you can put whatever you want in there, but tell you what everybody's using this for is if you're ordering cut yardage only and you want to put your cuts in there. I need 4 cuts at 60, 8 cuts at 70. That's where you key that information in. And look what you can do. You want to remove it? You want to edit it? Just kind of the same stuff. It takes you back into the spec sheet itself to do that. If you come a little bit further down the invoice, you'll see an estimated ship date. So as I come down here and I want to order it, I look around and I say, hey, there's nothing here that says order. Because if you remember when we set up our guy, Dylan, we didn't give him the authority to do that. You remember that? That's because we weren't too sure of it. So if I was Dylan now, I'd probably pick up the phone. Hey, boss, I just sold my first order. I'm excited. And you're going to say, great, bring it in. Let's take a look at it. Okay, great. I'll get the money from the customer and I'll save this as a quote. So hypothetically, at this point, Dylan could save this order as a quote for Mrs. Smith. He's done all the legwork. He's done all the ordering, so he can actually just go right in here. And in this case, if he wanted to put in Kathy Smith, and you could put whatever your business requires. You could either put pending or sold. In this case, he sold it. And if he wanted to put a date, a date or whatever, he could put that in. So I don't know what today's date is, the 18th. or 19th, I don't know, 11/19 we'll put 2014. So I'm good to go. Now I'm just going to update that. So he gets the money from the customer. He's happy. It's in the quote field. And he just simply goes out here and logs out. And he's on his way back to the shop. Say it's later on that day or the next morning he comes in. What happens there is I'm going to sign in as the super user, the boss probably. Log back on. And now I need to go out and find, let's say I've got 2 or 3 employees. I just need to find Dylan. So I can go to my account. I can go to my quotes. I can pull that up. Now, this quote gets used by all of our Salesforce, so it can be a big file. So let's see what we can do. But that's where you'd find your sub-user. In this case here, we've got her right here, so you can identify it that way too, simply by all you need to do is decide what you want to do. So, for example, if I wanted to look at it, I could go to View Cart and say, OK. So now I'm pulling that order up that we did. Or I could have put in Kathy Smith up in there in the description, and it would have pulled it up also. So now I've got it in the cart, right? So at this point, I can either go in and look at all. I could go in under Edit and go in and look at it line by line. But there's another little feature I could do as a manager is I could click on this thing called View Details. And this is a great, great leave behind. Dylan could have left this behind before he left, but we've saved this as a quote. Now I'm looking at wholesale. When Dylan was on, he had his set at retail. So when you leave it behind, make sure it's retail so the customer's only seeing retail pricing. But the fact of the matter is you can go down and you can look, and we even list, the fabric content, the pin setting. It's very, very well, very detailed. So you can look at it that way. When you're done with it, then you just go back to your cart. So let's say you looked at it as the boss, and also when you sign on and you put it in the cart, it converts it back to wholesale for you, okay, because you're looking at wholesale. So now, if I'm ready to check out, all I need to do is say, Dylan, you did a great job. Let's go ahead and order that, and I'll show you. You'll see the difference in the screen now. When you get down to the bottom, there's actually a button that says Place, Order, or Quote. So if it all checked out and we're good to go, I just hit the Place Order button. The other thing that I wanted to bring about under the place orders and quotes, and which we didn't talk about, was hardware. For just a few minutes that are remaining when we talk about hardware, at Carol Fabrics we do have some stocking programs, and we also have a few that are custom order. So all you do is follow the little icon, and select hardware, and you can see that the different hardware programs that we offer at Carol Fabrics, they're very easy to order on the internet. You'll see some actually looks the same. That's because we sell them in sets. So let's say I wanted to do a Kirsch wood trend set. So I'd start by hitting the set button. And then remember, a set includes the in brackets, the number of supports that you need, the finials, everything except the rings or batons. So if I went in and just say I wanted to use a fluted Chaucer, I'd click on that. And at this point, all I would need to do is put in the quantity. I want 1 rod, and then the color, drop-down box, I'm doing mahogany. Select the width. These are sold in 4 different lengths. So let's say I'm going to do 72. They're wood. So then, and then a projection. So let's say I'm going to do a 3.5-inch projection. That easy. Now all I would need to do is calculate. And it's $85.80. Now remember, we're looking at wholesale, so you'd need to keep that in mind. However, whatever you have your pricing set, I could add that to the cart. Now I've done everything I can, except I've got my finials, my rod, and my in brackets, and my supports and all that. Now I just need to order rings. So then I would just simply go back up here to continue shopping. We're working on a little shortcut for that, but I'd just go back in and hit hardware again. And then I would pick out the other side where it says accessories for wood trends, and this is where I could go in and pick up my rings. There's 4 to a pack. So you can see how user-friendly this is. You can drive this very, very simply. And what the thing about it is, it reduces errors. It just saves you so much time going forward that It really is a really cool feature. Sales aids, just for example, it's late at night and you want to look at a hardware binder. All you have to do is hit sales aids, hit hardware binder, and come down and find the one that you want to look at. So let's say you wanted to look at a Legends brochure. I think it's a wrought iron program that we have. You can open that up and get information and look at our hardware programs. So you can see how really easy this all gets to do. You wanted to look at clearance only. In fairness, I should show you this. If you want to do clearance only, the only call out is you can only order fabric. At this point, we're not fabricating product out of it. So all you do is go to clearance and say, hey, show me the fabric and hardware that's on clearance. And this looks very familiar. It's just a search screen. But I'll give you a little hint. You can go in and say, well, I'm looking for this, 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 this. But you know what most people do? They just say, hey, show it all to me, because how much can you have on clearance, right? And if there's great deals, I want to look at it. So you hit the Display All button. And voila, it says right now there's 185 in our clearance area. So if I wanted to look at all 185, I'd go up here and I'd find a number bigger than that. I'll go ahead and hit that. And then what it'll do is it'll populate. And what I want to point out is a couple of things on our clearance I think you'll find interesting. So there, it just loaded up all of them. So as I go through here, let's say there's this Paisley for whatever. I like this Paisley. So all I would do is click on it, and you know what happens now. It goes out to the stock check. I can email it. I can do all that good stuff. But, before we didn't tell you how many yards we had available. Here, we're actually showing you that there are 45 yards available. But you know what? A lot of companies will say, well, if you want that, you got to, if you want this, okay, if you want this at that price, $8, you got to take all 45. At Carol, if you wanted to go in there and order 5 yards, whatever you wanted to do, we're okay with that. So that's how you do clearance. So very easy. Another thing, too, is if you right-click these larger images, you can copy, you can print, you can do things too, which might make it fun. Okay, so that's kind of how we do clearance. Showed you the national advertising. Just let me conclude the day with this help and contact thing, this little tab up here. This is where we keep our master help file. So if you really wanted to get into some more stuff, even tips on how to use Carolenet that we talked about today, there's a quick start guide that shows you the different tabs and what you can do underneath them. You can get product definitions, if you're looking for specifications on shades or slipcovers, all a bunch of stuff going on there. You want to contact our customer service, it's as easy as hitting the contact us, and you can go in and you can communicate them via email. And you can ask them to reply to you as an email or phone you or take no action, if you're just giving them information. It will list who your territorial sales manager is. I've seen him in a while. I need to talk to him. There's his information that you can grab when you get there. So that's kind of it. The Cook's tour, if you were. I know it was lengthy. Hopefully you caught all the stuff that we talked about. But it is very, 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 very user friendly. And it's just a matter of getting in there, and you can't hurt yourself unless you hit the button that says place order. So you can go in and build your orders, practice saving them, doing searches, doing all those things that make you become familiar with this. We have a lot of people that walk into the home with a laptop or an iPad, and if they've got Signal or whatever, they conduct most of the business right there in the home, key the order in, it's all done for them, become much more efficient, and it's all about less admin time and more selling time. That's where we want to be. So listen, it's been my pleasure. I hope that there's some things that we talked about today that will be meaningful to you. I encourage you to contact your territorial sales rep if there's additional information or something you want to go back over that you heard today, or you can call in our customer service. They're also pretty good with Carolenet. So thank you very much, and I hope sales find you kindly, and hope all is well. So thanks a lot for attending today, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.